She is, of course, as well, a Director Emeritus of the Business Relationship Management Institute. And with a lifelong purpose of elevating others, I think it's brilliant that she's been able to join today. She's championed diversity and inclusion and helped so many other people to improve their professional careers throughout her working lifetime. So welcome back to Level Up, Malini. Great to see you.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you so much for including me in this conversation, Nick. A very timely topic, I think.
Indeed it is. Yeah, thank you so much indeed. Tomasz joins, Tomasz Manugiewicz. He is the General Manager at Grand Parade over in Poland with an engineering background. He's held a wide variety of leadership positions in the IT sector. He's an agile enthusiast, coach and mentor, and he enjoys working with empowered teams to bring about better outcomes with pace and scale. Welcome back to Level Up, Tomasz.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Nick, for such a warm welcome. Looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you very much indeed. Darrel completes our on-screen panel of experts today. Darrel Popowich, he is, of course, an expert in building and managing business relationships, coaching executives, and a regular contributor here on Level Up, for which we're truly grateful. He works tirelessly to support communities around the world and brings his thought leadership and experience to our panel today. Welcome back to Level Up, Darrel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Looking forward to the conversation today. Absolutely, it's going to be a good one because we're in a different age and a different world now.
We really are. When about 100 years ago, when I was at school, the careers advice was very simple. If you're tall, you can be a policeman. It was like that. It was based on very simple attributes. Life's got a little bit more complicated since then. All right, very good. Now, it doesn't work. The show doesn't work without questions from the audience. Of course, you are our producers online, and your questions come in to the question master. I'm delighted to welcome back Suchitra Jacob, who joins us from Bangalore in southern India. Welcome back, Suchitra. Great to see you.
Hi, Nick. Hello to the panelists and, of course, our viewers. Back again for another Level Up Monday.
Absolutely right. And I understand it's a bit hot at the moment in Bangalore. Is that right?
It indeed is. It's very hot.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's a hot topic to match the hot temperature, okay, in southern India. So, and we've got representation. I just want to take a moment actually to recognize and acknowledge just how far apart this community is reaching now. So Malini is in Melbourne in Australia. We have Darrel in Calgary in Canada, not quite the other side of the world, but very close, I would have thought. And we have Lela, who's in Georgia. So brilliant for you to join. And Tomasz, who is in Poland. I'm in the UK, and Suchitra is in India. So goodness me, what a global community we actually are. Next time, everybody, let's have two people from the same country. That might be nice. Anyway, brilliant to have you all on the panel today. So let's jump in if we can, Suchitra, and we'll have our first question to the panel, please.
Sure. So our first question is from Maria, who asks, I'm nearly 50 years old. Is it too late for me to think about securing my future?
Well, it's great. It's great to lead off with this one. Thank you very much indeed, Maria, for submitting it. 50 seems young to me. I have to say all of this stuff is pretty relative. Why don't we start us, Darrel, why don't you start us off and then we'll hear from Malini?
Yeah, there is never a time too late to start securing your future. I mean, we just have to take a look at 17 months ago when we had no idea what GPT and chat, how that could be a combined word. And it has completely changed much of what we think about in our daily activity, what we do, how we work. And we've just scratched the surface of how people in the workforce and how you at home are going to be using AI in everything that you do. And so just 17 months ago, things changed. And, you know, I always ask this when I do an interview, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it doesn't matter the age, because it's important to understand what your career aspirations are. And if you don't have them articulated right now, then all the decisions you make about how hard you work on what priority project is going to impact your ability to move with the kind of gait and the kind of urgency around the type of work that you are going to succeed at. And so starting at 50, starting at 60, it's never too late. And it's never too early to start figuring out what your future should be secured at.
I think that's absolutely right, Darrel. And, the thing is that we're quite often early in our careers, they're shaped by other people. What I really like as folks begin their progression through their professional life is you get more and more opportunity to shape your future yourself and more autonomy to do that. You may feel that there's more constraint, perhaps, but we'll come on to that topic in a few minutes, but you're definitely in the driving seat of your own future. So I agree with that. Thank you very much, Darrel. Malini, your thoughts, please.
Maria, as a woman who has completed more than 50 laps around the sun myself, I don't think it's too late for us to think about our future. One thing that is becoming more and more apparent is that our generation, right, is going to have to consider working or be professionally active for at least the next 15 to 20 years. In Australia, where I live, the retirement age or the age at which you can start getting your government pension is now 67, and there's actually talk about extending that to 70 years. So that to me is an indicator that there's an expectation that we will be, contributing to the economy until then. We are also living longer, and we are more health conscious and have more time and capacity, for managing our health now. So there's no reason for us to hold ourselves back. Now, of course, you do have to, given this particular stage of life that you're in, you do have to think about very practical ways in how to get the most out of, the next 15 or 20 years. I would suggest as a first step, try and find some communities that you can join. There are some on Facebook and LinkedIn for women in our age group who are looking to reinvent themselves. That would be a great place to start. And I'm sure through the rest of this hour, you'll also take away some other practical strategies that you can start implementing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And in fact, actually, the UK shares a lot of commonalities there in terms of, first of all, some legislation some years ago that removed compulsory retirement ages from most occupations, not all of them. If you're flying aeroplanes or certain other professions, then you may find that there is a hard stop at certain points for good reason. But generally speaking, that's all disappeared now, and you're quite right. The age at which the state begins to kind of pick up or contribute towards your retirement is much older now than it ever used to be, and people are living longer and so on. So that's really great. Thank you so much. Lela, what are your thoughts on Maria's situation?
I agree with everything what my colleagues said, but I want to give one short practical advice. You may have already done it, but my advice will be to find your ikigai. Whatever you do, whatever you love, whatever you are good at, and also whatever world requires, and we will be paid for. So then you will have whole spectrum of the things that you will enjoy doing. So just I'm sure that our ikigai is changing over time, and we should be finding the ikigai and reflecting on it over time. So just find the ikigai.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for those folks who are online listening to this who are less familiar with ikigai, Lela, can you expand on that a little bit? Where does that phrase come from?
It's Japanese term. It's like one of those methodologies for the self-development. It's a combination of four main areas. One is to find out what you love. The second one is what you are good at doing. And so the third one is what world needs right now. And the fourth is that what you will be paid for. So this is the combination of four like circles, and in the center you will find your ikigai, and drives all the passion you have.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Lela. That's very helpful. Really appreciate that. Let's jump over to social, see who's online today and is joining in with the conversations. So we're going to start off in Bangalore, actually, in India, and welcome Ranganath back today. So great to have you on the team. Appreciate your contribution as well, Ranganath, as we go through the episode. We've got Kath Convery, of course, a regular supporter and also panelist now of the Level Up community. So thanks for joining, Kath from Oxfordshire here in the UK. We also have Hussein, who's joining from Nairobi in Kenya. So great to have East Africa represented on today's panel. It'd be brilliant, Hussein, to hear some thoughts from you about, how you go about building your professional career in Kenya, and in particular in Nairobi. That would be great. And Boleslaw rejoins today as well. So thank you very much indeed. So he's actually really looking forward to a break in the summer. And actually, this might be something to consider, about managing our careers, is pacing ourselves. How do we get that right? How do we continue to contribute and give if we're exhausted? So it's a really nice idea, Boleslaw, and we appreciate it. Maybe send us a postcard, my friend, of wherever you're going to be taking your 3-month vacation. That sounds delicious, doesn't it? Goodness me. You've perked my interest there, Boleslaw. All right, very good. Let's carry on then. Suchitra, I think it would be great. Can we have our next question for the panel, please?
Sure. So our next question is from Sophie. Would developing a growth mindset help me ensure that I can secure my future?
All right. So the growth mindset, Tomasz, is that something that's at the core of how we should be thinking these days?
Yes, definitely, Sophie. You are spot on. You are totally right. Growth mindset is the answer. For those of you who doesn't know the concept, growth mindset means that you think about your skills and abilities and your inabilities as an option to develop, to learn new things, and then you can reach something. So you don't think about, I don't have this skill set and that's it. But you know that you don't have the skill set yet, and you can develop it to reach some goals. And on top of that, I would like to elaborate a little bit about the mindset itself, because when we talk about securing the future, in my opinion, it's all about mindset. Because nowadays we observe a lot of redundancies in the companies and so on. And according to me, to have a good mindset about myself, being able to reach my goal despite all this economic crisis that's going on, it's key. So when you think about your skill set and yourself as a professional who can learn and develop despite the company, despite the economy crisis, and despite of the place where you work in, then it will give you the feeling of stability. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if your current job will be maybe closed because of AI or because of economic crisis or whatever, but you feel the value in yourself, you feel the value in your skill set, and then you know that sooner or later you will find another job, or you will open up your business to help others. So it's all about the mindset for me.
Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, I really get that. Thank you, Tomasz. Makes complete sense. Darrel, your thoughts then, Malini?
The growth mindset is something that you can see on those career those career aspirations of individuals who really reach for the stars. They're always looking to take on the biggest challenge. But the most important thing that I've seen is that they really embrace mistakes and failure, and they really analyze and ask others for input and get layers deep into understanding what went wrong, and they're seeking criticism, they're seeking constructive feedback, and you learn most from the mistakes, and when you fall, how quickly you get up. You hear that so often, and yet in business and in organizations, we have grown into this mode where failure is a career killer, and we need to flip that. And the way you flip that is you're one of those individuals that is fearless, taking on the new challenges, raising your hand with your boss about trying something new, with the expectation and the desire that you're going to learn from the mistakes and misses along the way. And it's important to have that as much as thinking of the growth mindset of growing the business and growing your career.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's quite interesting about, different things. Sometimes people want certainty. So, an individual contributor might say, I think we should try this out, experiment with this. And somebody else might say, well, prove it. But you can't prove it until you've had a go. So it's a bit of a kind of catch-22, really. So you have to have the confidence to experiment and, to your point, to fail often and fast and so on, and then learn from each iteration and build and build and build. And that is how genuine breakthroughs happen, for sure. Scientific method shows that. Painstaking work, lots and lots of underwhelming outcomes followed by a wow moment, from time to time, which is just kind of the way that it happens. Thank you, Darrel. Great advice there. And Malini, final thoughts, please.
To secure your future, I think you have to think long term, right? And I think one of the ways in which the growth mindset really helps is that it helps you to remain persistent. So what Darren was saying, about learning from failure and so on, it's not just important in the short term, but it's also important in the long term, because even when things don't go according to plan, you might feel disappointed for a short time, but then you've got longer term goals that you're actually trying to work towards. The other aspect of growth mindset, which is also important, is all this advice that you hear about find your purpose or find your passion, and then you can figure out a career around it. That advice doesn't always work for everyone. So for a person like me, I have multiple interests. So if I had to find one thing that I'm going to be passionate enough about to carve a career out of it, it might be very difficult. So when you have a growth mindset and you're willing to and you're curious and willing to explore in different directions, I think that actually will eventually get you onto a path that you can sustain.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And some really lovely comments back from the audience. I know that we just saw Karek's comments there, and also from Kath Convery. So thank you both very much for your contributions as well. As we're discussing these topics, just jump into the chat, everybody. Now, out of the LinkedIn community that we have, I think there are probably more folks who are carrying a target, who are carrying a number than any other single subgroup on the platform. So we have a tremendous number of sales professionals who are online, many of whom are going to be listening today. So it'd be really lovely to hear from some folks who are used to carrying that risk, carrying that number with them, okay, and delivering on behalf of their organization. Because if there's one discipline where you fail often and need to have that resilience, if you like, to kind of carry on and learn from those mistakes, it's on the demand generation side of business. So it would be really lovely to hear from some sales professionals about how you go about that and grow and develop and evolve your techniques as well as on the delivery side. All right, so let's look forward to hearing some of those. I think I'd like to move on, if we can, Suchitra. We've got a large audience now on LinkedIn who are following along with this today. So let's move to our next question to the panel, please.
Sure. So we have a live question from Hussein Hajar. What is the best possible way for one to make a sustainable career change?
All right. Okay. Great question, Hussein. Thank you for submitting it. Lela, why don't you start us off?
Great question. And there is a few steps which comes in mind. And the first is just to start with yourself. Know yourself, you understand your knowledge, skills, your abilities. So just do inventory of yourself. I know it sounds so simple, but it's very hard. But with practice, as with anything, with practice, it comes very handy. And with time of practice, you are more and more aware of your of knowing yourself. The second step I would recommend is to research and explore what areas really light you up and in which areas you have this intellectual curiosity. I love this intellectual curiosity mixed with your passion. Then you just do this simple planning and list the skills that you need to research and the skills you need to build on, or usually we only look at the skills we want to build, but also look closely at the skills you are very good at and how to utilize them. This is having both. The fourth step is networking. Do network with the people you want to shift the career. Please do so and be open with your idea of moving to the next career level. And also look at the financial planning, because we have all the obligations. You cannot move quickly. You have obligations with the family and other obligations. So how feasible is it for us to move? And set the goals. And my colleagues already said, then the action is important. We can plan whole day and whole year, but we need to move on, as we need to move on now.
Thank you very much, Lela. I was making notes, okay, as you were going, of the different points, and I'm going to rely on my colleagues who are online actually today as part of the social team to kind of summarize some of those things for us, because there was a lot to go for there and huge value, in your answers. So thank you very much indeed. I just want to echo one thing, which is that often in annual appraisals, it's tempting for people to focus on the negatives. All right. It's tempting to focus on the things that, perhaps require attention and need development and these sorts of things. Well, we could do better at this and we could do better at that as well. And I agree with that. However, they need to be balanced, and they should be balanced by investing in becoming excellent at the things that you really do very well at the moment. All right. Be that beacon of light, be that exemplar person in whatever your discipline happens to be. And I love that. I love that idea, Lela. So thank you very much for bringing that into us. Darrel, your thoughts, please. Then we'll hear from Malini.
I'm just going to jump on one of the points that Lela brought up, and it's that first one. Find your passion. When you are in front of colleagues, when you are in front of clients, when you are in front of anyone that you're trying to make an impact, they're going to buy in to your passion, to your excitement. If you're not passionate, you're not excited about what you're doing or what you're thinking of moving into, they're going to find somebody else in this connected world who is showing more passion and excitement behind it. And then the second thing, little bit of tidbit, millionaires have 7 different sources of income to achieve that millionaire status. And so the best possible way to make a sustainable change is to add some sources of income and create a little bit of a horse race. And the ones that are picking up steam, you invest more time into them, and all of a sudden the sustainability part goes away, and you have to make choices of doing less in the other areas that aren't making as much income for you.
I really like that idea, and that's something that's been accelerating, I think, in the last kind of 10 years at least, which is this concept of having a more of a portfolio career, if you like, or a side hustle. Sometimes it's referred to as a side hustle, these kinds of things, where you start to develop different possibilities and sustainable income streams. And I think it's particularly relevant for those people. I mean, I'm 61 now, so it's particularly relevant for people who are kind of thinking, how do I sustain an income into a more hybrid retirement. I'm not sure that my generation is going to have the hard stop types of retirements that perhaps my parents' generation had, where you had a little celebration and you were given a small gift and you exited stage left and then that was it, kind of thing. I think it's much more likely that we'll be in a hybrid type mode for an awful lot longer. Malini, why don't you give us your thoughts, please, and then we'll go to Tomasz.
Thank you, Darrel and Nick, for saying exactly what I was planning to say in that, I don't think, this is actually really good, but I'll share my take on it. I absolutely think that if you want to have, a sustainable strategy for the future, it's best not to put all your eggs in one basket for a variety of reasons. One that I've already mentioned earlier was that for me, it's hard to find one thing that I'm passionate about that I'm going to focus on solely, ignoring everything else. What I did last year, I made a major career transition, but I started preparing for that about 3 years prior by negotiating with my employer at that time that I would take, a set number of days off every year in order to experiment with an alternative income stream, right? And I did that for some time, and it actually during COVID, it was one of those things that helped preserve my sanity, because when there was a lot of anxiety all around, this was something I could actually focus on and keep building, and that actually eventually paved the way, for me to transition. So you need to think about what are some things that you can do right now. What are some things that you can start doing 6 months from now, 12 months from now, and then start carving out some time. And you don't have to necessarily leave your current job in order to pursue the future.
Absolutely right. It's that kind of hybrid model as well also has real benefits, by the way. If you're managing teams and you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, shouldn't people be 100% focused on their primary job role and so on? What you'll often find is the lived experience means that these folks actually bring in new ideas because they're doing different things. And so long as they're not in a competitive space, then it can enhance and enrich. And also gives you a greater degree, I would say, of retention of the talent where people have built up experience in your business, in your industry. They know it inside out, back to front. So that's the very point at which you don't really want to lose them to a competitor. So allowing some flexibility can pay huge dividends. Tomasz, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, all great answers that I hear today from you guys. I really like it. From my perspective, I would add to that being stubborn and being persistent, because when you experience the career change, you basically change your whole life or the big part of your life. So then you will experience the thoughts in your head, oh, maybe that's not good for me. I already started doing some, let's say, I don't know, Java courses. I already started doing some Java courses, but maybe I will give up. Maybe I will come back to my old work and so on. So that's natural, that's normal. And as long as you accept that it will happen in future, and you can recognize it, say, hey, yes, that's the moment that I need to keep doing that, what I'm doing, what I decided to do, then slowly but surely, but by small steps, you will be going to the direction of the new goal and new career change. So prepare yourself to have this question in your head. Is it really worth? Am I doing it right? And answer yes.
Thank you very much indeed. And Malini, final thoughts.
I just wanted to touch on something you mentioned earlier, Nick, about not just focusing on our areas of improvement, but also learning to lead with our strengths. So there is actually a free online questionnaire that anyone can complete. It's called the VIA Character Strengths, and I'll share the link with you. And you can go in, answer the questions, and it'll actually show you, your strengths in order of prioritization. So you can then figure out which ones to lead with.
I think that's a really good baseline. These online tools are super helpful, and they're becoming more sophisticated now as well as they integrate different technologies. and things like large language models and so on, so that they can provide a deeper and richer, set of answers to you. I would also suggest to you that as part of the Level Up community, don't forget, please, everybody, that we are all here to help each other. And so you are most welcome to reach out to us, any of the panel, anybody who's really resonated with you today. You'll find links to our LinkedIn profiles on the APMG International website. Just go to the event page for today and you'll find a little link and you can click through and you can invite a connection, therefore, with anybody on the panel. And we do encourage you to do that. So thank you very much indeed. If we can, then Suchitra, I think we ought to move on. We've got a huge audience down, lots of questions stacking up. So let's press on. We'll take our next question, please.
Sure. So our next question is a live one from Rangana. With the rise of automation and AI, what steps can individuals take to future-proof their careers?
Well, it's an interesting time that we're living in, isn't it? Was it Bill Gates some years ago, many years ago now, actually, who said you need to stop taxing people and start taxing the robots? That was his suggestion to federal government, at least. I may have paraphrased that very badly, so I apologize to Mr. Gates and all and sundry if I got that one wrong. Lela, you've done a tremendous amount of research work in this area, and you're really one of the leading thinkers, thought leaders, in applying AI in professional space. What are your thoughts on this?
I may sound, and you may expect some different answer, but the first thing that I would recommend to everybody to stay focused on your health, would it be physical or mental health? Because in the era I see around with all these disruptions, we need to stay as much healthy and flexible mentally as possible. And for that, we need to have a discipline. And I'm sure most of you have read the book Atomic Habits. It is one of the books that really resonates with me in that sense. We need to have a discipline, whatever mood we are, do we want or not, to keep up our schedule up. The next, what I would recommend is that be the lifelong learner. We have to be learning daily, and it is connected with the discipline of learning daily and have it in your timetable and schedule. The topic interests you is probably the key. So what I really want to suggest, try different tools. There are hundreds of tools. Don't stick with one. Just try them. We are all unique. We have different likes. So be courageous to try them. So stay healthy and disciplined. Those are two key advices right now for me.
Thank you very much indeed. Absolutely right. You need that energy and resilience, if you like, to be able to deliver at pace and scale for your organization. So follow that advice. Thank you very much. Tomasz, your thoughts?
Yes, from the steps, the future steps, obviously the first immediate step is to embrace AI and learn about it, start using it, just start playing with it, not to be afraid of that. So that one obvious step. But what I would advise as the next steps as well is to develop your human skills, because there are two reasons for that. When you are a developer, software developer, I'm looking from this angle because I was a software developer in the past. So when you are a software developer, you learn a lot to speak with the machine in the specific language, like with the Java language or .NET language, C++, whatever. So concrete procedures, concrete code that you write into the machine, into the compiler, will have the outcome. And now you need to write a natural language to, for example, ChatGPT. You need to use this natural language to elaborate a little bit to get the outcomes. So for those of you who are engineers and software developers, that's critical skills, this is not only like we used to call them soft skills, to speak with the communication skills, to speak with other humans, other people. Right now, you have to learn this social skills to speak with the machine. So your Java skill set may not work in future. So this is for those of you who are engineers. And for those of you who are more people-oriented and have more people-oriented jobs, that's the message that you are on the good spot, sweet spot, let's put it that way. Because first things first, you are able to speak with the machines, right? With the ChatGPT, you have this ability to do the proper prompt engineering, as we call, but prompt engineering is just like speaking in the natural language right now. And most importantly, you can still develop your social skills to support people who need the contact with others. Because right now we have the contact with others, we work mostly with humans, right? But once the AI will be developing further, we will be working with machines. We'll be working with computers, with algorithms. So there will be huge appetite for people who have the empathy, who are able to speak from the empathic angle, who are able to give the support, and you have those skills. So that's my 2 point of views for all those two groups.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. I think that's the sweet spot that we're really looking for, because if you can, it's a bit like Dr. Dolittle these days, isn't it? We need to develop these language skills to be able to cope with lots and lots of different situations, whether it's talking to computers or whether it's understanding the very different and diverse landscapes in which we're trying to make digital transformation happen around the world with our different colleagues. And also thinking about, how do we best add value and act as the bridge, if you like, between the technical world and the human world, and bring some added value and some added benefit to colleagues there. Malini, your thoughts?
I think you're absolutely right, Nick. Organizations have some huge challenges ahead of them in trying to strike the right balance between human intelligence and artificial intelligence and whatever else is going to come out in the near future. And I think as individuals we can focus on business relationship management competencies. So if you were to visit the website of the Business Relationship Management Institute, you can find some information about the competency model. And it's all about how can we actually bring individuals with different specialist skills or different perspectives together to work towards a shared vision of the future, right? And I think that's actually going to become a very key capability as we navigate the next decade or so.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, for those of you who are in the UK, and I think it may be available on BBC Sounds internationally as well, so do have a little hunt for it. It's a really interesting podcast. It's not on the subject of careers, but it is on the subject of making incremental change for the better. It's Dr. Michael Mosley and his BBC programme, and it's called Just One Thing. It's in a podcast format, so it's really easy to listen to. And his thought process here is, instead of trying to change everything in your life, give up this, give up that, do more of this, do more of the other, and so on and so on, just change one thing at a time. You'll see the benefit, and that might sew together. That might be the golden thread that draws together Lela's comments around health in terms of mental and physical, and also everybody else's comments on the panel so far about how you navigate your way through the sea of complexity. All right, just change one thing at a time. Focus on that. Make that little change that habit, and then move on to the next. All right, so really very good. Shanice comments actually from the audience as well today. Hi, Shanice. Great to welcome you back from Wales in the UK. She's saying that if you can improve 1% per day in a year, imagine how much you're going to improve. And That's compound interest, by the way, for the mathematicians who are amongst us. I'm sure somebody can figure that out, but it's a big number at any rate. All right, thank you very much indeed. Thanks, Shanice. Great comment from the audience there. Let's move on if we can, Suchitra, as time is against us. I think we've probably got time for 2 more questions. So let's jump straight in.
A question from Malini, our panelist. Does the panel have suggestions on how to make time for professional development when we are busy with the current work?
This is the truth of the matter, is it not, Darrel? We have the best of intentions, but practically, how do you actually do this? How do you set that time, protect that time? What are your thoughts?
You have to start with the mindset that this is as important as it was to learn how to use a computer. AI is not something on top of a computer. It is a completely different technology. And if you are not learning how to use it and embracing it, then you are going to work yourself out of employment. And so let's take a step back at Google. They created that self-time, 10% or 20%. As an organization, they dedicated their people to go and do whatever they wanted to. And so coming back to your employer with those 2 perspectives, it is important for me to know how to use AI as it was to learn the computer. And look what Google did when they allowed their employees to learn on their own. So taking that position with your boss and with your day and prioritizing it above all else is that first step to be able to be effective and grow for yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much indeed, Darrel. And Malini, I'm going to come to you last, if I may. Okay, so let me come to Lela, and then I'll come back to you because you raised the question.
To continue Darrel's thought, the responsibility to prepare the future employee as well as future employer lays on individual level, on the team level, and organizational level. This is the responsibility of society to be prepared for the future. We are together in this. So we have to have in organizations the programs which consider having the learning and development program and having AI literacy program, digital literacy program. And in the teams, we have to consider the learning time and more sharing time. This is also important because you learn, but you have to share with your teammates.
I agree with that. I think collaborative learning is a great way to kind of nail this. Share and learn and share kind of thing. So one of the things that APMG has been working on recently are communities of practice where small groups of people kind of get together. And sometimes people are researching, sometimes people are teaching others, sometimes people are joining in and learning from somebody else who's fixed something. These kinds of things. It's really fascinating how that dynamic can grow and develop. And you uncover all kinds of talent within the business through taking that more collegiate kind of approach. So totally agree with that. Thank you, Lela. Now, Malini, you raised this question. I guess that it's partially rhetorical in the sense that you've helped people do this kind of stuff in the past. What advice and counsel would you give to busy people to make time for themselves?
After years of having a stack of books by my bedside, which I had all the intentions of reading but never getting around to, came up with a very simple way which I would like to share because it is actually really, really powerful. Every day, at some point in the afternoon, I have a habit of drinking a cup of peppermint tea. And during that time, I just shut the rest of the world out. I treat this as a mindfulness exercise. And then I thought, why don't I actually start reading something during that time? Because, I can focus and read something. And so I started doing that. And then I noticed over time, every day I would actually spend 12 minutes doing this. So Monday to Friday, the 12 minutes adds up to 1 hour of, some learning activity. And so I consistently, by putting aside the small bit of time, which was not a big ask, because when I set aside an hour to do something for myself, that always gets consumed by someone in my team wanting, my attention or something else, right? But 12 minutes is easy length of time to carve out. And then I shared this strategy with my team, and I was leading a team of 12 persons at the time. So collectively, we were actually learning 13 hours every week, right? And we were sharing articles and books that we were reading. And when the rest of the organization came to know about it, they actually instituted the tea ceremony learning habit. And so we actually had so many people across the organization just spending 12 minutes a day while they're drinking their cuppa, committing to learning something.
That's absolutely fantastic. What a great idea. And I can see that shares in companies like Machaidze are going to rocket now, because we've got a huge number of people on LinkedIn and they're all going to reach for, Amazon or some other online sellers are available actually to everybody, and order. What a great idea. I love that tea learning ceremony concept. Really brilliant. Many years ago, when I was part of a technical support team, we used to have a coffee break at 11 in the morning. It was introduced by a manager, actually a colleague in Germany. And all the tech support people, the second level and the third level experts, would step out of their rooms just for 10 minutes. And we'd stand up and we'd talk about the things that we were stuck on. And over time, actually, we got some brilliant suggestions from colleagues, just standing up saying, have you thought about this? Try that. Oh, I think I might have seen that somewhere before, et cetera, et cetera. So it was knowledge sharing, if you like, but learning that approach of saying the problem out loud in front of other people. Actually, often you will solve it yourself. It's a weird phenomenon, but just by saying it out loud, just by vocalizing the issue, then actually either you will solve it yourself or your colleagues will help you to do so. So thank you very much indeed. And some great comments as well from Kath Convery throughout the show today. I really appreciate your contribution today online, Kath. It's brilliant to see. Excellent. Suchitra, I think we've got time to squeeze one or two more in if we're super fast.
So we have a live question from Deepthi. How can educational institutes adapt to prepare individuals for the uncertainties that the future holds?
I think this is a key thing, actually, to provide young people with this capability and the sense of fortitude and resilience to be able to chart their way through their early career. Tomasz, what are your thoughts?
It's a brilliant question, and I can share my experience as I'm the lecturer of the University of Science and Technology in Poland, in Krakow. So what they do at the universities, what we do, is to open up for the knowledge how to develop ourselves. This is not anymore about giving the knowledge, the book knowledge about, hey, this is the way as we should move forward. But we have more workshops with students to give them the control and give them the options to develop their opinions, develop their thoughts. And obviously, I give them my experience and my point of view, but this is no longer like a setup that I know everything and will tell you how to live and how to develop your career and how to program and so on. This is mutual benefit. So I teach them something and they teach me something about, for example, social media. So it's more a relationship, the workshop relationship, right? Rather than just telling them what to do.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Tomasz. And Malini?
I strongly believe that the goal of educational institutions is to teach people how to think. Unfortunately, we seem to have moved away from or lost sight of that. So if we go back to first principles, I think educational institutions need to help students learn how to think in different ways, right? So not just one way of thinking, but learn from different disciplines. And I also think we should train people when they are young to cultivate resilience. There's a brilliant TED talk on the value of grit and how that actually makes the difference between someone who's successful and someone who gives up. So helping people cultivate skills for resilience, to manage adversity, be comfortable with uncertainty. I think those things are going to be as important as any technical skills that they might learn.
One thought that I would have for you, if you are working in a university or a college and so on, is there are certain parts of the world that do this really, really well, and they link innovation with universities in clusters. I know that Kath Convery, who's online, is working in a science park, and there are many great examples of those around the world where business and education come together and they work together and so on. There are also brilliant clusters, I think, in West Africa and Nigeria, and also we were talking about Nairobi in Kenya earlier. Kenya is a leading country on getting innovation with universities, with small state funding to work and to work proactively together. And I think we could learn a lot, actually, from those kind of micro clusters of organizations around the world who are getting that right. Okay, very good. One last question. We do need to move now at a bit of pace. So let's press on if we can. Last question to the panel, please, Suchitra.
Our last question is from Carrick Brown. When your role is made redundant, how can you build resilience so that future employers see you at your best?
Well, it's a really great question, Carrick. The one thing that I would suggest is invest early in your network and link with people who will be by your side throughout, okay? Because it's your network that will be your guide and your strength, and you can draw upon that collective resilience, okay, throughout the period. It's certainly true. I would have a listen to the Company Doctor podcasts, Carrick, from Gary Gamp. Okay, I think we'll put a link in the chat for you so that you can follow up on that one. But there's a lot of suggestions and advice there from Gary, who's an absolute exemplar when it comes to kind of building those networks up. Tomasz, your thoughts, please. Then we'll hear from Darrel.
Yeah, actually, I would like to first things first echo what Darrel said before about the passion, that people are buying into your passion, not your skills, not your knowledge. First things first, the passion. And obviously, I understand that once made redundant, your passion may be not so visible because there are a lot of difficulties going on in your head. Why I was made redundant, about fear of rejection or feeling rejected. Yeah, that's something that is not helpful when being stay motivated. But what I would like to advise you, and I will close with that, what I just mentioned at the beginning of the panel about the mindset. When you don't think, and I understand that this is difficult, but when you will switch from thinking about your role as yourself and the company as a secure place, and focus on your talents, on your passion, and say, okay, I was made redundant. I will not contribute with my skills and my passion to this company, but that's okay. I can contribute to the other company. So think more about they didn't rejected you. There were some, circumstances that you lost the job, but you are you. You know who you are. You know what drives you and what motivates you, and you can immediately use that for next opportunity. I know that it sounds difficult, but I think that's the answer for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tomasz. And Darrel?
So if you want to show future employers or existing employers what your value is at your best, engage in actively transitioning the redundancy yourself out of the role. How do you create that space for your current employer to find those efficiencies? And if you can start talking like that with your next employers, they're going to see value in you and accepting and moving the organization forward no matter what happens. That's showing resiliency and grit. And I just want to touch on the value of your social network. And what the single biggest rule that I hold when engaging in any of those networking activities. You find one more person to contact in every network conversation. Even if they don't have something to connect you to a job opportunity, hey, do you know anyone I can reach out to and get a new contact? And you have to reciprocate that rule. Someone reaches out to you, can you connect them to one more? You practice that and you do that on a weekly basis, and your social network will be very effective.
I totally agree with that. You know, it's interesting how you know, people can have a very large number of connections on platforms such as LinkedIn and so on. And there's this kind of tumbleweed silence, you know, when actually asking for meaningful, you know, engagement, meaningful support from others. And it doesn't need to be that way. Every single one of us could follow Dr. Michael Mosley's advice today and change one small thing. And that is to provide some meaningful assistance to a colleague who is actually looking for that next connection. We all have amazing connections, and it's really good to share those because it provides a bank for the future. You're investing in your own future when you do that. That reciprocal nature, that tendency for karma, you can call it karma if you like, actually, you know, is going to come back to you because you've been helping other people as well. That's very much what the spirit of Level Up is actually all about. Well, what an amazing episode, panel. It's been fantastic. We are running out of time now. So we're going to hear some closing remarks from the team. Darrel, if I may, come to you first, and then Malini.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure panel talking through this. You know, the future of yourself needs to be top of mind always so that you are not surprised. You are in control. And so, you know, reach out to your network, talk to coaches, engage in people to help you future-proof yourself. Don't rely on everything on your own.
Excellent. Thank you so much indeed, Darrel. Great advice. Malini and then Lela.
Thank you so much for having me on Level Up again today. In my experience, most of the barriers to personal growth are within ourselves. And so I would recommend a book called Work from the Inside Out by Tammy Gooler-Loeb to help you shift those barriers.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Malini. That's great. We'll put a link in through to the social chat for that. There we go. Thank you to the team. Thank you, Technical Director, for finding that really quickly for us. Lela, your closing remarks, please, and then we'll hear from Tomasz.
Thank you for having me on this panel discussion. And I want to encourage everybody to find their hidden potential. Everybody has uniqueness. You just need to find it. And for that, I would love to recommend the book by Adam Grant, Hidden Potential. So I'm sure we will all have very interesting futures. So just go for it.
Thank you very much indeed. I've got so many things now to read. I'm going to have to start drinking peppermint tea. I think that's the answer to it, Malini. You've got me launched in that direction. Thank you very much. And Tomasz?
Wow, that was such amazing panel. You know, I'm really glad to be a part of this panel because a lot of great questions, great answers, great thoughts. And what I take out as a learning from this panel is that this is all about ourselves. This is not about agile. This is not about the waterfall, about programming languages, about Java. Those things are important, but actually what matters, it's us connected with each other and us connected with ourselves. So I take it as a takeaway. Thank you very much.
Absolutely right. Thank you very much indeed. Suchitra, fascinating topic today. Huge audience online from all over the world, pretty much every continent represented. Your reflections on today?
I agree, Nick. It's been a phenomenal show. I learned so much, and personally, there's a lot of learning for me from this show. And I will take on Malini's advice on the 10-minute tea time learning, and I will take that forward. So, and of course, thank you to our viewers for your amazing questions. We have so many more left to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll carry those over into future episodes where we look and focus and develop a little further in our thinking. about our careers. So on behalf of our Producers Online panel, thank you very much indeed for your time today. You've given that so generously and given us some really great thoughts to take forwards and to embed into our behaviors and our own transformational journey of our own careers. So thank you. And also on behalf of the panel, brilliant job, producers, today. Goodness gracious me. Fantastic questions, delivered at pace, phrased just beautifully. So thank you very much indeed to our audience. If you submitted a question, it got through to the panel, and we had so many today, then your name will appear in the credits momentarily. Now, of course, APMG International is an examination institute, so we have a broad range of qualifications in our portfolio. So I genuinely believe if you have a look at that, you'll discover your next certification that will fit around those passions and using those tools that the panel have advised you on today. All right, very well done. Now, talking about ourselves, over on our website, you can, of course, search for the answers to more than 3,300 previously asked questions that have been answered by experts from all over the world. More than 330 different people now represented in that list. It's totally free, and it connects you with some amazing expertise in pretty much every discipline and every continent. Don't forget, you may listen to the audio versions of the podcast as well on your preferred podcast platform. Just search for APMG International, Level Up Your Career, and you'll find us pretty easily. Looking ahead, this Friday, the 26th at 2 p.m., we're going to dive into how to become a NIST cybersecurity professional, which is a brilliant career. And then on Monday, the 29th, well, at 8 a.m., we're going to be exploring how to make the best use of AI, artificial intelligence. And that one is sure to be a great show as well. Don't forget, head over to the YouTube channel, give this video a like, please, and subscribe. It takes but a moment of your time, and it really helps others to discover the content. And lastly, ask us, and we will send you a personal summary of what's coming up here and how you too can join us here on the panel and level up your career with APMG. Thanks very much indeed, everybody. We'll see you next time.